This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream. Comedian, writer, and director Jordan Peele redefined the modern era of horror with his debut feature, Get Out. A neat, tidy, and totally scathing commentary on white liberal racism.
I know what you're thinking.
What?
Come on, I get it. White family, black servants, it's a total cliche.
If you went into his new film, Us, expecting the same razor-sharp message, you might have left disappointed. This movie is dense. But even though the film invites multiple interpretations, we've got one helpful framework for thinking about it. That is, Us functions as a funhouse mirror for viewers to interrogate their own lives and society as a whole. Welcome to this Wisecrack Quick Take on Us. And of course, spoilers ahead, and a few tiny details from Get Out as well. But first, a recap. Us begins in 1986, where a young girl on the Santa Cruz boardwalk with her family wanders into a house of mirrors. Surrounded by her own reflection, she comes across one that's not quite right. It's not her reflection, it's her. Another version of her. She runs away and becomes scarred by the trauma. Fast forward to today, and Us becomes a story of your typical family summer, filled with enough horrifying imagery to make you never want to sunbathe again. The girl, Adelaide, all grown up, takes her nice, normal family to their vacation home. Then, a not nice, not normal family of doppelgangers shows up on their driveway wearing matching jumpsuits and asymmetrical gloves, and wielding shiny scissors. Chaos ensues. A neck or two is slit, a head or three is bonked, and this girl creepily smiles for what feels like a minor eternity. A lot of people hold hands, but it is not cute or sweet. End credits. Full disclosure, we've wasted most of our precious youth and limited brain power thinking critically about movies. And to be totally candid, we're not 100% sure about everything this film is saying. And that's after multiple viewings among several people. This is by design. Peele said that the film is about a lot of things, and that despite having a very clear meaning and commentary, he also wanted to design a film that was very personal for every individual. So with the caveat that you might very reasonably experience the film differently, and that's cool, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the film's imagery and themes. Under Peele's capable eye, every inch of every frame in this film is used wisely. From candy apples to werewolf masks, to the Goonies and Chud on VHS, not a single choice feels anything other than immensely calculated. But most of the imagery can be understood in the context of duality. The duality of what, you may ask? Well, let's dive in. Mirror images abound, starting when young Adelaide literally walks into a hall of mirrors and finds her clone. The film is full of other mirror imagery. People looking in mirrors, people getting shoved into mirrors. Also, there's a ton of rabbits, which could be an allusion to Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and its famous White Rabbit character. The sequel, Through the Looking Glass and What Alice Found There, has Alice find, like a reflection, a world where everything is the opposite of what it should be. Of course, the extensive mirroring is most terrifying when the family members must look into the eyes of their actual doppelgangers and see themselves, stripped of the niceties of polite society, lacking in language and basic house guest etiquette. Also, the neighbors' daughters are twins. Taken more broadly, we can see that there's two worlds, the above ground and below, two affluent families and two timelines. But dualities abound in smaller, equally literal ways. Take the Hall of Mirrors, which in 1986 is called Vision Quest, and adorned with Native American imagery that beckons you to find yourself, fittingly in your reflection. By present day, it's given a politically correct facelift and clumsily rechristened Merlin's Forest. Despite this, everything else about it remains the same. Is Peele mocking faux political correctness a la Get Out?
I would have voted for Obama for a third term if I could.
Is he making a commentary on America as stolen land? Is he winking at the way in which injustices of the past are wallpapered over without any hint of resolution? Other cultural remnants of the 80s similarly take on new, dueling meanings in the present day. For instance, we see in both timelines characters wearing a black flag shirt. The first, bearing the cover of their album My War, is worn by a working-class carny in 1986. By present day, the band's anti-establishment roots have been forgotten, and an urban outfitterized version of the shirt is now worn by one of the wealthy Tyler teens. It also bears 4 vertical lines, which could be read as 1111, a palindromic number. We also see that number as the characters look at a clock reading 1111, highlighting the sequence's symmetry. Speaking of 1111, there's the recurring imagery of a religious vagrant who chills at the beach holding a sign reading Jeremiah 11:11. This is a reference to a section of the book of Jeremiah in which the prophet delivers a message from God to warn the Jews not to worship false idols. The verse, 11:11, relays the bleak news that God won't rescue his peeps, even after they've recognized the follies of their past. In this context, the false idol seems likely to be the trappings of wealth exemplified by this beachfront community,
Hey, I think it's vodka o'clock.
who spend the summer in lavishly decorated second homes, getting cosmetic surgery on the reg, and talking to voice assistants named Ophelia. These small dualities invite us to consider much larger dualities, specifically wealth, class, and the divide between the haves and the have-nots. The Tyler family, helmed by Tim Heidecker and Elizabeth Moss, provides a helpful juxtaposition. Both families are fairly well off, each with their own vacation home, but the wealthier white Tyler family seems conjured specifically to provoke the Wilsons' anxiety about their upward mobility. This is best exemplified by the husband Gabe's insecurities about keeping up with Josh Tyler's latest big-ticket purchases.
Did you hear Gabe got a boat?
He's kidding, right?
He's not kidding.
We watch Gabe brag about his new boat and grouse over his frenemy's new Land Rover and pricey backup generator. And some fitting symbolism, that generator allows the Tyler's house to remain lit throughout the attacks. When every other home in the neighborhood is filled with darkness, the Tyler's extra generator gives them power, literally. Like the question of class, the question of race adds nuance to the dualities explored in the film. The film is richer for the specificity of the Wilsons, a black upper-middle-class family disconnected from both black and white culture. In this telling scene, Gabe tries to tell his kids that the hip-hop song "I've Got 5 on It"
What does I got 5 on it mean? It's about drugs.
It's not about drugs, it's a dope song.
isn't about drugs, as the family cheerily sings along. And with lyrics like, who could disagree? Gabe isn't unaware of the song's meaning, but wants to shield his children from the grungy reality of the song's Oakland roots. Gabe spends much of the film in a Howard shirt, a reminder of the prestigious and historically black university he likely attended, while his son Jason wears a tuxedo t-shirt, both pretty clear symbols of class. Perhaps most strikingly, Gabe encounters the duality of being an affluent black man in America when he first confronts the home invaders.
Hi, can I help you?
We've only known him as the gentle and lovable family man for a few minutes, but we soon watch him do something called code switching. Code switching, in this case, means consciously choosing between specific varieties of one language. For a great exaggeration of this, cue "Sorry to Bother You."
Let me give you a tip. Use your white voice.
Hey, Mr. Kramer, this is Langston from Regal View.
As Peele explained to the New York Times in his Anatomy of a Scene episode,
You know, he goes back to some of his roots, as it were, to try and intimidate this mysterious family out there. That maybe if sort of reasoning with them doesn't work, a good old-fashioned low register, throwing some bass into his voice, coming out with a little swagger and a bat might work.
earlier we saw Gabe disavow the hard roots of hip-hop. Now he takes on some of the familiar coding of an intimidating black man
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
in an attempt to protect his family. It's also worth noting that a similar theme of black dual identity is explored in Jordan Peele's Keanu,
Clarence. You can't talk like that here, okay?
I can't talk like what?
You sound like Richard Pryor doing an impression of a white guy.
as well as Get Out. Other moments of cultural tension bring the dichotomy into even sharper focus, as when the Alexa-like device switches from the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations to NWA's F*** Police. The choice juxtaposes two Californias: the feel-good party vibes of the Beach Boys and the rage-filled anthem against the harassment of the black community by the law in Compton. Speaking of two Californias, I've Got 5 on It is by the duo Lunas, who hail from Oakland, California. Some of this can be classified as representing the duality of the American dream. Darker visions of this duality crop up in other visual references. For instance, the daughter Zora takes on some of the underground people with the whitest weapon of all, a golf club, while Gabe employs the American as apple pie baseball bat. This might remind you of another scene from Get Out, in which the central character attacks one dude with the distinctly Caucasian bocce ball, then kills the next with the wealthy white hunter's favorite interior decor, the deer head. In other words, pay attention to Jordan Peele's murder weapons from now on. But nowhere does the film explore the duality of the American dream more than its most enduring metaphor, the Hands Across America benefit of 1986. This event, now a cultural punchline, was initially seen as an exciting means of raising awareness about poverty.
6 million people, including some of the leading names in rock and roll, will join hands on May 25th to fight hunger in the United States.
Only about half of the $30 million raised actually made it to people in need, with the rest covering operational costs. Of course, Hands Across America existed in a wave of feel-good sentiment about fighting poverty. And while I'm not here to shit on people donating money to the less fortunate, the idea that donating $10 and holding hands for a few minutes can solve widespread poverty is a little naive. A way for the Wilsons or the Tylers of the world to feel good about themselves while so many have so little. Red reimagines the spectacle as a violent and radical act of change. The dream of Hands Across America is perversely realized when the have-nots trade places with the haves, donning their clothes and declaring an end to the injustice. By using the language of superficial charity to make a fiery call to arms, she further confuses our sense of villain and hero. The film also explores the morality of upward mobility, of achieving the American dream. After each doppelganger exacts bloody revenge on their twin, they steal some aspect of that person's uniform. Josh's twin steals his lounging robe, while Kitty's twin terrifyingly tries on her makeup. Each adopts a disturbing, over-the-top air of their deceased twin. Evil Josh contorts his body into an exaggerated Leave It to Beaver suburban geniality. Kitty, who once dreamed of becoming a movie star, is replaced by a clone that admires her reflection with a deranged glint in her eyes. What this all amounts to is evidence that, after killing their doubles, the underground people attempt to perform their luxurious lifestyle. Essentially, they violently climb over their counterparts on the social ladder. But the idea that moving up in society means tearing someone else down is further underscored once we learn about the origins of the doppelgangers. They are tethered to their originals and forced to live out bare-bones versions of their lives in underground laboratories. Red explains to Adelaide that her above-ground joy was always mirrored by Red's below-ground misery, as if to suggest that Adelaide's success was built on someone else's failures. In the final reveal, we learn that Adelaide and Red actually switched places the fateful day they met in the Hall of Mirrors. Adelaide, who was born in the underground, has been functioning as our protagonist in a way that underscores the arbitrariness of our social position. It suggests that each of us could have just as easily been a violent, languageless monster if we were thrown into a gross underworld instead of a series of good schools and qualified counselors' offices. It also makes us ask the question, is Red even the bad guy? Does she deserve her original place at the expense of someone else? The film forces us to confront the short-sightedness of many prejudices and us versus them mentalities. Duality, in this way, is used to explore the notion of what makes us, well, us. Is it something innate in our genetic makeup? Something unmistakable about our individuality? Or is it, as the film disturbingly hints, something shaped entirely by our circumstances, by good fortune and dumb luck, and when necessary, climbing up on the backs of others? The very distinction between us and them is blurred throughout the movie, especially if you consider the foreshadowing of the Adelaide switcheroo. At one point, Adelaide tells a friend that she's not so good at talking, which makes sense because she grew up in a place where no one talks. Her tightly controlled performance of kindness and normalcy falters, particularly in moments of violence, when she emits guttural cries and shrieks of semi-delight. After killing Red, she even reaches out to grab her necklace, mimicking the tethered people's habit of stealing a decorative token from their victim. Small wonder that, by the end of the film, her white clothes have been all but dyed red from blood, her visual transformation revealing the truth about her fraught identity. By happenstance, her son Jason witnesses her two murders, and is clearly unnerved by the way she resembles the enemies they've been staving off. His mask serves many purposes throughout the film, but when he pulls it down at the end, it clearly is a means of distancing himself from the horrifying truth he's just gleaned about his mother. In Us, we see a film that refuses to let any of us off the hook. One that questions whether, in our rigged system, one person's success is another person's pain. But that's just one interpretation. What do you think? Is Us a commentary on the duality of the American dream as the letters US in the title suggest? Or something else entirely? And what other symbols did we miss? Let us know what you think in the comments. But before you go, I want to give a shout out to this video's sponsor, CuriosityStream. They're a worldwide streaming service that offers over 2,400 documentaries and nonfiction films. Started by the founder of Discovery Channel, CuriosityStream is dedicated to helping us pursue our need to learn, explore, and understand the world we live in. They have titles covering all kinds of topics like space and history. The internet is something we use a lot, obviously, but I never thought too much about its origins. I checked out their doc, Birth of the Internet, and I learned all about the foundations of the web, which were really insightful. Right now, they're giving Wisecrack fans the first 31 days for free when you enter the promo code Wisecrack at curiositystream.com/Wisecrack. Once again, that's curiositystream.com/Wisecrack for unlimited access starting at just $2.99 a month. Thanks for watching, guys.